All right, this is the last section before we leave for October break. We're going to have this homework on Wednesday, Thursday this week. 2.3 is polynomial division and synthetic division with remainder theorem as part of it. Your homework's right here, page 142, 1143 odds, and this homework will be due Monday and Tuesday, which is the 28th and 29th, and then that Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have a quiz, the 28th, 29th, over all this stuff. And then that Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to have a test. And then that Friday before break, we're doing a first quarter exam online. First quarter test. Oops, I left off quarter. First quarter test will be on Friday. And I think we're going to have it on Canvas. And I think there's going to be 15 multiple choice questions. So going into this stuff. So today we're supposed to be able to use long division and synthetic division to find the answer to polynomials. And then we're going to use the remainder theorem and factor theorem. So long division is like this. Like if I have 35 divided by 2. So when you do long division, you ask yourself, what times 2 goes into 3? So we take 1 times 2 and get a 2 here. And then we subtract, and you bring down the next number, and then we say, how many times does 2 go into 15? And that's 7. And 7 times 2 is 14 with a remainder of 1. That's our remainder. And then you write your remainder over your divisor. So in this particular problem, 35 is the quotient, 2 is the divisor, and 17 is the quotient, 35. 2 is the divisor, and then the half is the remainder. Actually, the remainder is 1, but we're going to talk about what all this stuff is here in a minute. 35 would be the dividend, the thing we're dividing. Synthetic division, it looks like this when we set it up, and I'm just going to go through an example and tell you how to do it. The remainder theorem says that if a polynomial f of x is divided by x minus k, then the remainder r is f of k. So in other words, whatever value you get here, when you divide by this k, it gives you a point. The point is k, and the remainder, which we usually say is x and f of x. So whatever number I'm dividing by, in this case would be 2, and we get a remainder of 1. Now this is not with 35, but this will be a polynomial. That means that the point 2, 1 would be a point on your graph on the original function. And then if we ever get a remainder that's 0, then that x minus k is called a factor, and we're going to talk about that. So we're just going to go over and do a couple problems here now. This is your homework that I've already got online. And then we're going to do long division in this one. So what you do is whatever you're taking to divide by whatever else, the first part goes inside the division, just like the 35 did on that old kind of problem. So we put that inside the division bar. And then this 4x plus 5 comes out front. So we ask ourselves, what times 4x equals 4x cubed? So I hope we see that that would be an x squared. So I take x squared, and I'm going to distribute this to both of these, and I get x squared times 4x, which is 4x cubed, and x squared times 5, which is 5x. Now, a common mistake happens right here. So I'm going to go back to that first problem I did. Do you remember that we subtract this? Even though we don't write it in this one, we subtract it. So when you get over to this kind, I would highly recommend you putting and changing these signs so they're both minus, because people will subtract the first one, but not this one. So the first one always cancels out. So those two cancel out every time. And then I got negative 7x squared minus 5x squared. I should have had an x squared there because that was squared. And negative 7 and negative 5 is negative 12x squared. And we bring down the next number just like we did back over here when we brought down the 5. So now we ask ourselves, what times 4x will give me negative 12x squared? Well, negative 3 times 4 gives you negative 12, and then x times x gives you 12x squared. So this is negative 12x squared, negative 3x times 4x, negative 12x squared, and then negative 3x times 5 is negative 15x. And just like before up here, we need to realize that we have to subtract these, so that changes these signs. Makes them both plus because they were both negatives. So those 12x squareds cancel out, and negative 11 plus 15 is 4x, and we bring down the next number. And now we ask ourselves again, y times 4x gives you 4x. So this would be plus 1. And 1 times 4x is 4x. 1 times 5 is 5. And just like the last time, we are going to subtract these. So they both become minus. So I hope you see we're going to have a remainder of 0. So in other words, this is the factor theorem. Since my remainder is 0, 4x plus 5 is a factor of this. So in other words, 4x cubed minus 7x squared minus 11x plus 5 equals, now I'm going to tell you what that part is called. Oops, let's go back one more. That part is called the dividend, and that is going to equal the divisor, which is what we were dividing by. That is that 4x plus 5. That is the divisor, and then the quotient is our answer up here. And we got x squared minus 3x plus 1. Now, if I had some number here, say if I had a 1 there, then I would take that 1 up here, and it would be plus that 1 over what I was dividing by. The divisor would be that remainder over the divisor, that thing. But since it's 0, we don't have a remainder because it's an exact factor. So this right here would be what I'd write for my answer. Okay, this next problem, we're going to do something that I don't know if you do in Algebra 2 or not, but we're going to do it. So the first thing I notice are these numbers are not in descending order. So sometimes they have things not in descending order, and sometimes it might say something like, x cubed plus 1, which you would have to put in a 0 for your x squared. Even over here on this kind, you need them going down. So sometimes you got to add 0 for variables missing. I want to make that clear because that happens sometimes. And so this one doesn't have them missing, but they're in the wrong order. So the first thing you would want to do is put the exponents in descending order, because 2 is after 1 less than 3, and then these two middle ones would need to flip because you want them in descending order. And we're still dividing that by x plus 2. Now, when you do synthetic division, you take the coefficients of each term and the constant, so the number part in front. So we're going to take these numbers with their signs, and we're going to put them just down here beside each other. We get a 4, an 8, a negative 9, and a negative 18. Now over here, you want to know what makes this 0. So what makes x plus 2 equal 0? Well, that is when x equals negative 2. So you take that negative 2 and you put it in front out here, and you put it in a half box. So we put that negative 2, that makes this part 0, goes in a half box, and then you skip a little line because we're going to write stuff in here. You skip a line, and the first rule is you bring down the first number underneath the box, underneath the line. So we bring that first number down just like that. Then we take the number in our half box, negative 2, and we come over here and we multiply it by this 4, and we stick that product, which is negative 8, right here. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And then we add these two. So 8 minus 8 is 0. Then we take this number in the box, negative 2, and we multiply it. We multiply it times the 0, and we put that number there. So negative 2 times 0 is 0. And then we add these two numbers. So that is negative 9. Then we take this number in the box and we multiply it times negative 9, and it goes here. And we add these two numbers, and that is 0. So this is the remainder again, just like this 0 was. So I'm going to do a new problem because I got no remainder. So what this tells me is, if I take the original problem, 4x cubed minus 9x plus 8x squared minus 18. And again, I could write it like this blue line. It might be even better. I think I am going to switch those two again. So I'm going to put plus 8x squared minus 9x. And I'm going to say that will equal, now what did I divide it by? Well, I divided by x plus 2. So when I divided by x plus 2, that's my divisor. And then this is my answer. Now, do you notice this number starts with a 3? Just like this number started with a 3, and I divided by an x to the first, and this is x to the first. So when I got down here, it was an x squared problem, where actually this is an x squared because I'm dividing by an x. That means this number is an x squared. So this is 4x squared, and then this is 0x, and then this is my constant, minus 9. You could put the 0x in there, but it does not change. So this factors to this. Now we could go ahead and factor this more because that is a difference of squares, but they're wanting us to do synthetic division. So we know that x plus 2 times this equals this. Now I got to get my book open because I want to do one more problem for you. So I'm going to do is picking another, and these are your homework problems. So you're going to want to do these homework problems. So I'm hoping to get one that doesn't have a remainder on it. And I got to get my glasses because I can't see. Okay, so I'm going to do one of those at the bottom. I'm going to do number 39. So number 39 is saying the numerator is negative 3x to the 4th. And I am dividing that, because it's a fraction bar means divide, I'm dividing that by x minus 2. Well, what that means is that I have negative 3x to the 4th plus 0x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 0 divided by, notice I put these in descending order of x's, x minus 2 for the last problem. So when I write this down, that's negative 3, 0, 0, 0, 0. And what makes this 0? Well, it's 0 when x equals 2. So I put that 2 in my box out here, and I draw my line. I take my first number, bring it straight down. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and then I add these two. So that's negative 6. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, and I add these two. So that's negative 12. 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. I add these two. That's negative 24. And 2 times negative 24 is negative 48. And you put a line here every time. I've done that, but I haven't said that. So my remainder is negative 48. So what this tells me from remainder theorem is that the point 2, negative 48, is on this graph right here. This, just the top part. It's on this function right here. The point 2, negative 48 is in this first set of functions. In other words, if you plug 2 in right there, you get 16 times negative 3 gives you negative 48. That would be on the graph. Now, if I want to rewrite this, what this means is negative 3x to the 4th is going to equal, because that's the thing I'm multiplying by, the divisor, which is the part on the bottom, times, and then I got this whole thing. And then I got a remainder here. So again, since this is the 4th, this will be to the 3rd. So this will be negative 3x to the 3rd minus 6, taking that from right there, x squared minus 12x minus 24, and then it's minus 48 over what I was dividing by, that x minus 2. So that right there is what that equals. Now this is not a 0. The other two, just to go back and show you, that means negative 2 is an, if I were to graph this 4x cubed plus 8x squared minus 9x minus 18, that means negative 2 is a 0. So if I were graphing this at negative 2, it would go across the x-axis. Likewise over here, if I was graphing this cubic, since that remainder is 0, now I'm doing long division here, so we're not worried about that one. That means this 4x plus 5 would be a 0, so it'd actually be negative 5/4. But you get the exact 0 out of this. In other words, the thing I divided by is your x. and the remainder is a point. -20 is a point on this graph. Okay, so that is a whole bunch of stuff in a short time. I am not going to be here on Wednesday, so you're going to need to watch this video and try to do the homework on your own. I will see you guys Thursday and Friday. Have a good day.